I was listening to a live stream that Dewan B did, and shout out to him, where he was basically going in on Akon and these tropes and these stereotypes that he was using when it came to critiquing Black American artists in particular. Like literally, he was being very specific about it and basically trying to say that African artists are better than Black American artists. Then the same day, like hours later, TD Hip Hop Media, shout out to TD, did a video talking about the same topic, in which Akon went on this podcast where he was being interviewed by this woman named ZZ Mills, called the ZZ Mills Show, and they were talking about an array of topics. And that particular discussion of Black American artists came up. And he was using every type of stereotype you could think of in the book to describe Black American artists, you know, with the pants sagging, the drinking, and all types of things like that, that literally gets propelled out here into mainstream media and, you know, gets on the social media and then gets to the artist consumers. My issue with Akon saying all of this is that this man has literally made his bones off of the same stereotypes that he is so-called critiquing Black American artists for doing. By that, I mean, when he first got started in the industry, one can argue that he was dabbling in the same context. Like, think about it. This man was not getting famous off of his lineage, well, off of his background, off of his demographic. He had to come over here and make his bones. It was Black Americans, as a matter of fact, that helped to make him famous. It was a lot of Black American artists that he worked with that helped him get a leg up in this industry. In case y'all didn't know, Akon worked with the greatest entertainer that ever lived, that being Michael Jackson. I think he worked with him on it was one of his albums. I forgot what album it was. Someone can let me know in the comment section, but I forget what album it was exactly. But he did work with Michael Jackson, and we all know Michael Jackson is an American. He was born here in America, Gary, Indiana. His lineage is here. Great, like I said, greatest entertainer to ever have walked the face of this planet, in my honest opinion. And I can think, speaking of opinion, I could think that I can take that further and label that as facts, because I don't think there's a person alive today who is not aware of who Michael Jackson is. But we can say that for Michael Jackson. Can we say the same for Akon? I doubt it. His reach only goes but so far. I don't know what it is with some of these others in the diaspora with the level of disrespect they have been giving out and dishing out lately. I just had to go in on Faison Love, who up until that day when I recorded the video didn't know he was Cuban, because aesthetically he doesn't fit the typical Cuban, at least the one of today. So we can see why he wasn't going to make his bones in Cuba or with Cubans. So he had to mix and mingle in with Black people in order for him to gain some kind of notoriety. But then for him to sit up there and talk about to the Russian, y'all know who I'm talking about, of all people, about what Black people will get with their reparations, which was absolutely trash for him to actually say, considering he wouldn't qualify. But that's probably why he's upset. But back to Akon and his fake hairline. Y'all can't tell me that he didn't purchase that. Y'all can't tell me he didn't buy that hairline. But yeah, he went on and he said all of this stuff, stereotypes when it comes to Black artists, Black American artists. And that could translate over into Black American people who are not in the music industry or entertainment industry. But that's what he decided to lean on. And then he literally threw Black Americans under the bus just to uplift Africans. I'm like, you didn't have to do that. If you just wanted to say that you prefer African music over American music, you could have just said that. But let's not get out of line here. You, again, made your money and your fame off of working with Black American artists. Other artists as well, but Black American artists is where you went to first. I can't remember Akon making music with people who identify as he does. And if he has, it's very low key. I'm guessing his biggest hits, and I don't know what his biggest hit is, didn't come from wherever it is that he's from. His biggest hits came from here. And we helped him get that. It's the utter disrespect for me for him to even say something such as that. But what I also found to be very interesting, to shift gears a little bit, was when I was looking for a soundbite to go with this when it comes to Akon and his disrespect of Black Americans, is I ended up coming across an article where he was in that same interview talking to this woman, ZZ Mills, and the topic of Nick Cannon came up. And I said, I wonder what they're about to talk about. And basically Akon is praising Nick Cannon for having all of these children. And the host had asked Akon, what was his take about Nick Cannon having all of these kids and spreading himself so thin, as far as being a father goes. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually play to you what he said. And it may not even shock you what he says, but when you think about when he's talking about stereotypes with Black Americans, what he just did was endorse a stereotype when it comes to Black fathers.
Do you agree, like Nick Cannon and his spreading of his seed?
100%. I agree with him 1,000%. That's how life is supposed to be.
No.
Why not?
Because
he's rich.
No, but this is...
No,
see, wait.
Let me finish.
Okay, go on.
He's rich. He's responsible.
Is he?
Yes, he takes care of every one of those children.
But this is the...
And the baby mother's with it. And they hurt for nothing, and they live comfortably.
No, but what about the kids, though?
What about them?
Because this is what I mean about men, right? You guys think that just having kids and giving money is enough. But what about the time? No.
He's there for every one of them.
How? There's no way that you can...
Are you serious, Nick? He's there for every single one of those kids.
There's no way that you could have...
Yes, it is. I got 9. And I'm there for every one of mine.
So every single time you're at every single recital?
No, that's a white man's thing. Who gives a fuck about a recital?
No.
My job, seriously, my job is to, my job is to raise my kids.
No, but this is...
Hold on. To be responsible.
Yeah.
To be understanding. To protect their mother. To give hand with their father and assist with family planning. And to be responsible.
Okay, so that was the whole thing right there. And like I said, she was asking him, about him with him having so many kids. Now we know Nick Cannon has an all-star lineup of children. I think he just had his 12th child this year. I think. You got to think. Nick Cannon may have 12 kids, but he doesn't have 12 baby mamas. Remember, his first 2 children was with Mariah Carey, who was the only woman out of all the women he's been with that he was married to for a few years. That's the one I think he had the most solid relationship with, where it wasn't something that seemed transactional. The rest were just fly by nights, like a hit it and quit it and whatnot. I don't even know if he's currently with the current one that he has. Now, you got to think, Nick Cannon has 12 children. Some of those kids were born in the same year. And I'm not talking about to the same mother. Some of them were born in the same year because the mothers got pregnant very closely together, which means they gave birth in the same year, which means now those kids are very close in age. They're just merely months apart. So how is it possible that he's going to be there for all of those kids? How can he spread himself out like that? I remember recently Mariah Carey just recently came out and made a statement where she said that she wishes that Nick would spend more time with their twins, who are the first 2 children that he had. Those were his first 2 kids. Before the rest of them came along, those were the first 2 kids. And she basically came out and said that. Now, I highly doubt that she would put him on child support, because Mariah Carey is far from hurting for money. Out of all of the women that Nick Cannon has slept with and had children with, she's good. She's going to be good for the rest of her life. The rest of them, I'm not so sure. I don't know what they're known for, because I don't think any of them are really famous for anything. They look pretty. They might be an Instagram model. Shoot, they might have an OnlyFans. I don't know. But none of them are on the peak, on the level of his wife, or of his ex-wife, I should say, by far, to be quite honest. So I don't think she'll go that far to actually do that, but he better be very careful for her to even ask that question. Not to ask the question, but to throw that out there of, I wish that he would spend more time with our kids. After all, those are your first two children. Those are your firstborns. But he has spread himself out so much with all these other women. And by the way, in case y'all didn't know, Nick actually has two sets of twins. Because one of them, another one of the women he got pregnant, she had twins, and I think those were his third and fourth child, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I don't know Nick Cannon's time like that, but I do know he has another set of twins. So he has two sets of twins. The rest are just individual, like, children per woman. But when you hear Akon literally endorse that, it's like, wow. But then when you hear him say, I have 9 children. So I was like, oh, now I see why you said it, because you're in that predicament. You're in that situation. You're one of those people that literally has turned yourself into basically a sperminator, which is that guy that they was up in New York that was getting all them women pregnant because he was just giving his sperm out to just any and everybody who wanted it. So that's what he did. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know Akon had a child, let alone 9 children. But honestly, I didn't care. And it's pretty obvious that society doesn't either, because, hey, it is what it is. So I thought that was very interesting, too, that he brought that up when that question, that had brought itself up. And then he talked about when she was mentioning about going to recitals or different things like that. And I know she just threw recitals out there as an example, but it could be more than just recitals. It could be games. It could be different clubs or organizations that your child is a part of that they want you to attend because of purposes of support, family support. And then he went and said that is a white man thing. So being there for your kids, for their different, events, you don't have to show up to it's not saying you have to show up to every one, but to just show up, be supportive. That's a white man thing. And let's take it off of like different, like little small events. Let's talk about major stuff that will happen in your child's life, such as graduation. Imagine if you had 2 children born in the same year. They both going to graduate the same year, but they may not even go to the same school because they might be in 2 different locations. How are you going to choose which child's graduation to go to? You go to one child's graduation, then they're going to say, oh, why did you go to them? Then that's going to cause animosity and jealousy between the siblings. It's a lot. It's a lot. That's what I believe she was trying to convey. I wish he would have expressed it better, but he basically pushed back against her and was so supportive of basically Nick Cannon being a baby daddy, because that's what he is. So he gonna sit up there on his soapbox and talk down on Black American artists, saying they sag their pants and they drink and do drugs and all types of stuff, like other artists don't drink and do drugs, and who cover other genres of music. But they're going to turn right back around and endorse one of the biggest stereotypes that can fall behind a black man, especially if he's a father, and that's him being a baby daddy, because that's what he is. No wonder he's okay with that. Man, listen, Akon, keep your mouth shut when it comes to the matters of black people. I'm almost scared to want to know what he thinks about reparations, but honestly, I don't care, even though I can honestly envision in my mind where he would be at on that subject matter because of how he is on this topic. So yeah, but I'm not surprised, because he's been talking real shady and greasy about Black Americans for a while now, whether subliminal or overt, but he was very overt with this one. And like I said, he pulled out every stereotype that he could think of when it came to Black American artists. But shout out to Dewan B and TD Hip Hop Media for talking about this, especially Dewan B, because he really went into this. As y'all know, Dewan, he is a huge music lover. He does a lot of music history when it comes to Black Americans and their contributions to the entertainment lane of music and the different genres of music. He did a very good live stream today on December 26, 2022, just talking about it and the situation at hand. I wanted to add something into this because, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to add fuel to the fire that he's burning as far as I'm concerned. And I don't think anybody else has done or spoke about this when it concerns Akon and his comments. So I decided to go and Google Akon's best-selling albums by nation. So these are all of his albums. He only has 3. He only has 3 albums that start from the first one came out in 2004, then the next one came out in 2006, and then 2008 was his last album that he did before he just stopped doing music, as far as I know, altogether, at least on the mainstream circuit. But let me just skip past what you see right here. This says Akon's total sales by country. And if you look, it has Australia, Brazil, Canada, Denmark, France, Gulf states, Ireland, Japan, Lebanon, New Zealand, Poland, Russia, Singapore, South Africa, Switzerland, United Kingdom, United States. Now look at the sales. Look at the sales. Most of his sales out of all the nations listed is in the United States, with 7.6 million or 7,690,000 sales made. Albums counted 3, which is all 3 of his albums. Now this is total sales by country. Let's scroll down again. This is Akon's detailed sales by country. So what they did was they inserted the certification source such as platinum, gold, and all that. And they did it by album. Australia, Brazil, Canada, Denmark, France, Gulf states, Ireland, Japan, Lebanon, New Zealand, Poland, Russia, Singapore, South Africa, Switzerland, United Kingdom, United States. And as you can see right here, most of his bones yet again came from the US, even the album that did not go and sell 1 million. He still made and sold more in the States than he did in other nations. Now, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because Akon is from Senegal. He credits his hometown of being Senegal. Did anyone see Senegal in any of these lists? The only African nation on this list was South Africa. It was the only one. South Africa was the only nation in Africa, in the continent which he represents, as far as the continent itself, that was on this list. Again, most of his bones came from the US, the same place that he wants to talk down on it when it comes to black artists. He couldn't even have his own people in Senegal buy his shit. Now that's saying a lot, considering when you look at this list right here, the lowest sold was 1,000 in Lebanon, which means if any album sales were made in Senegal, it was less than 1,000. And if you go down here, the lowest number again is 1,000, also in Lebanon, which means, again, like this one, if there was any albums to be sold in Senegal, it was less than 1,000, because they're not going to put anything up there less than 1,000. So Akon, I said, let me go ahead and dig a little bit deeper into this, because I said this, I'm just curious. I just had to be curious right here. He don't even get support in his own nation like that, if he gets any support at all. But he has the nerve to hop on his soapbox and talk down about black American artists. He got a lot of nerve.